All right, folks, let's go ahead and get started. Looks like the hour's arrived. I did hear from Mayor Britton, he will not be able to join us today. Let's call the roll, please.
Here, Mike Bell.
Here.
Bill Britton. Tony Cox.
Here.
Bob Garrett.
Here.
Don Hofer.
Here.
Tim Horner.
Here.
Keith Jackson.
Here.
Matt Lacy.
Here.
Tom Rush.
Here.
Dan Weir.
Here. All right, thank you. We have a quorum. We will proceed with business. First order of business is public comment. Anyone got something you'd like to share with the board this morning?
I do, Mr. Cox.
Yes, ma'am.
My name's Linda Noe, 2343 Joe Stevens Road. I would like to ask, because I have other times, that you begin putting your budget and your agenda and your packets online. You establish a website that has actual information on it that is useful and for the public, and particularly during this time, it shows all the more the need to be able to provide information to the public. And now you're getting ready to go into your budget process. And if things change, or if you start closing meetings or allowed to, or any type of restriction, the public, really regardless of any type of restriction, the public should be able to see those budgets, minutes, and information regarding the solid waste board. So I would simply like to ask that you begin as quickly as possible, and certainly before you start into the budget process, to provide information electronically. It could even be on the city's website temporarily, or a link to the city website where that information could be posted. Thank you.
Thank you. Anyone else have a comment? If not, there were minutes distributed in your packet. Any corrections or additions to the minutes?
Make a motion.
Motion to approve, Mr. Lacy. Do I have a second?
Second.
Motion and second. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Minute stand is approved. According to the agenda, Tanya was going to be here to present the audit report, but I don't see her face. Amy, have you got anything that you'd like to give the board with regard to the report besides there's the report?
I'll just share that management did meet with the auditors prior to the end of February so that they could issue the report before the end of February and get that submitted to the state. So that has been done as well, and you all do have a copy of the audit report. I'm guessing that was probably a misunderstanding that Tanya, based on our meeting with her, actually had not intended to come since we had the meeting with management. But the report is available as I mentioned.
Yeah, perhaps I should have elaborated and or followed up. I didn't think of that either, so part of that's on me. If the board has any questions, Amy, call you or call Tanya, either one, to get clarification. So, all right. So unless there's anything else on the audit report, we'll roll on to the financial report, and you continue, Amy.
All right. You should have received those last evening, and not a lot of activity outside of the norm for the month of February. We did have a couple of insurance payments, but those were not, again, out of the ordinary. So the net for the month was just under $86,000. For the year, we do show a loss of $113,000. Of course, that includes $712 in capital expenditures. And if there's any questions, I'll be glad to answer those.
No questions for Amy. She's going to get out easy this morning. All right. Tom, with regard to our investment holdings, anything to share with the board?
Nothing other than what's in the minutes. We closed the account at Commercial Bank, which was the capital account, $1,031,551. Moved that to the LGIP. So all of the capital funds right now are in the LGIP account. The balance is $4,075,000 and some change, and the net yield on that is 1.64. We also transferred the quarterly amount, which was $179,581, which was the capital portion of the tipping fees through the end of 2019.
I suspect that capital number is going to be something we're going to talk about here shortly. So, any other questions for either Amy or Tom? Dan, what you got for us?
TDEC inspections, we've got 2 months' worth, February to March. We had no violations, but had a couple of areas of concerns AOCs. One was litter. Of course, the day they did the last inspection, it was a very windy day, and we've since got the litter picked up. It is a daily process to do that. The ongoing leachate management system and leachate collection system that Steve's been working on, trying to work something out with them to measure the volume of leachate. That's all I have on the TDEC inspection, if y'all have any questions. I do have one more thing that did not make the list that kind of came up, is the tire event that we have scheduled for the month of April on the 18th. It's been kind of mixed emotions of what we want to do if we want to have it. KMHB still wants to continue with the event to kind of curb another situation, which is the Zika virus and stuff coming up in the summer. So they would like to continue on, but based on what the board would like to do, what the county wants to do, et cetera, we don't know what to do with this event.
We've got ongoing meetings with a countywide task force to deal with some of these things. I don't know that it's required that you shut it down at this point, but I would not be surprised if it will be before that time. I'll let you know as things go and give you a recommendation, and there's a new chair of the board. Who's chair of the?
Ross Litz.
Okay, I'll copy you and Ross if we get any update, but my anticipation is events have been falling and being canceled left and right, and I would not expect that to be different as we move forward, but unless you all have strong feelings about, we have to do tires in the month of April. Okay. So, Dan, if you haven't heard from you, remind me and I'll give you an update on where that stands.
Okay, thanks, Tom.
Anything else for Dan? Bostic, looks like you're up.
Okay, y'all got my report from last month, but we're continuing per TDEC's requirements with the off-site gas monitoring. Again, last month, we noted no issues. For this month's sampling, we don't plan on going into any homes. I don't think that's prudent under the conditions we're dealing with right now. We have not found any issues at any point. The annual leachate sample was completed. We received the lab results last week, and we'll put that report together and submit it to TDEC. The stormwater sampling, with all the rain we had in February, we were able to do that annual sampling event. We got those lab results also last week, so we're working on that report at this time. The pre-treatment semi-annual report required by MUS, we submitted that electronically last month, and then we got Dan's original signature. They require a wet signature, which is an original, so we got that and submitted that per their requirements. We finished the first groundwater sample event for the year, did some maintenance to one of the wells, and we just started getting those lab results. They're kind of coming in maybe 1 or 2 every other day. As soon as we get those, we'll get that report put together and submit to TDEC. We did meet with the geotech, geos, to discuss the vapor study and the leachate monitoring. There is an action plan draft that has been submitted to TDEC, and they're reviewing it. And we're negotiating with them on some of their requests as far as what they think we need there. It will be finalized by the end of March per their requirements.
Steve, what's the staffing level of TDEC? Have they got people, are they doing remote work or?
For the most part, I think they're working from home, and then I think they're still doing their inspections.
Right.
But, you know, anything out of doors, I don't think they're that concerned about. We've met with them on some other projects with different groups, and they've all been video conferenced.
I was just wondering if that was gonna have an impact on our ability to turn stuff around from that.
It may, to some point, I've seen a slowdown already on getting their reviews back. But if it's submitted electronically, most of the reviewers have the capability to review those from home. If they're like me and they're looking on a computer screen the size of yours, I don't know how they're doing it. I've got a TV in my house that it's a way I can look at. We're working from home also, so. The closure plan, we rebid that on the 17th, which was Tuesday. The bids were reviewed, and y'all in your packet there, I gave you, got the bid tabulations. We only had 2 bids this time, and they were from East Tennessee Turf and Landscape and Vice Machinery. We did send the packages out to all the bidders that attended the previous pre-bid conference, since they were the approved bidders. But we only got 2 bids in. Actually, the low bid, I think, came in some $500,000 or $600,000 lower than and I'm talking on the entire closure on contract D. East Tennessee Turf was at $2.25 million, Glass Machinery and Excavation was at $2.64. And based on the bid numbers that came in, it appears to me like those are extremely favorable, which we've been seeing on a lot of projects lately. I would recommend that based on your financial position, you know, if it's acceptable, I think you should award contract B and go ahead and do that entire 15 acres, because it's not gonna, you know, it won't get any cheaper, I don't think. So you've got all the bids for all 4 contracts there, if you wanna look at the unit prices.
What do we have in the budget for that? Or what do we kind of think that it would be?
I think,
2.5?
seemed like we were at about 2.6 or 2.8 with our budget, actually, I'll take that back, the first bids were a little bit lower than our budget, so this one is quite a bit lower. And I apologize, I don't remember what those exact numbers were. We were, let's see, 15 acres, and we figured, I was figuring about 200,000 acres, so that's about 300,000, or 3 million budget was.
3 million is what was in my mind, but I don't know.
Yeah, we were figuring about 200,000 acres.
It is a mandated requirement of our permit to move forward with this closure.
Absolutely, yeah.
And based on your analysis of the bids, doing the entire package or contract D is the most cost effective. So that is your recommendation.
Yes.
What's the board's pleasure? We, as we indicated, as part of our permit requirement, we could spread it out and do it in piecemeal, but it's probably gonna cost more.
I make the motion, we do the 15 acres and award it to the local.
I'll second that motion.
Got a motion and a second. Big number, let's call the roll.
Mike Bell.
Yes.
Bob Garrett.
Yes.
John Hofer.
Yes.
Tim Warner.
Yes.
Keith Jackson.
Yes.
Matt Lacy.
Yes.
Tom Rush.
Yes.
This will get a big project off of our to-do list and get a whole lot done at the site, so I think it's a major step forward. Okay, Steve, you've got more.
I've got on my list here the landfill expansion. You want to go ahead and discuss that?
Yeah.
So we've got the excavation and the final grade plans put together. One thing we've done on the excavation is we took, I don't know, we looked at 4 or 5 different options on that. but you've got an issue over there where you've got roughly half of that area is pretty good as far as the way it can lay out. The other half, there's a fair amount of rock in there, and if we start taking that rock out, then the price to develop it is gonna increase exponentially, because it all has to be hammered. And, I've got one of our civil designers in the office, he's looked at it, like I said, 3 or 4 different ways, and so what we've come up with is, and I will bring you guys at the next meeting. I apologize, I've been working from home and I'm still a little bit uneducated on how to get stuff between there and the office, but that's not your problem. But anyway, so at the next meeting, I'll have you the preliminary excavated and the preliminary final. And so anyway, what we've come up with is, and I've looked at this as the entire site. The construction cost of about $15 million, which is roughly about $17 a ton. And then to close it, which would be down the road, it would be about $7 million or about $8 a ton. And we're looking at probably 12, 13, maybe as many as 15 years.
How much does it cost to put a ton of trash in the landfill? Manpower, equipment? I mean, you gotta add what it costs to build it, you gotta add what it costs to close it, then you gotta figure out how much it costs to put a ton of trash in the landfill.
Apologize, wasn't ready for that question.
So what's the tipping fee?
$38 a ton.
That's what I'm trying to get at.
$3 that's going to the closure. So operating costs, assuming we're close to break even on budget, is how much a ton then?
We'll see what problem.
What's the total, just total budget for the landfill? I think you're at 70,000, we're using about 70,000 tons a year. So what's 3 million divided by 70,000?
That includes some capital too.
Yeah, well, just round numbers.
I'm gonna guess probably $27, $28 a ton.
It would be two capital expenditures.
Mhm.
It would be $2 million without the capital.
There's $2,555,000 in the budget, but there's $1,163,000 of that is capital expenditures.
Right, that's
So
what I
back
said.
that out.
About $2 million for that capital expenditure.
So you're looking at probably $25 a ton. A lot of that, there'll be parts of that though that will not, won't change, like the groundwater sampling and some of this other stuff, but you're probably at 30, say $32 a ton, not counting closure, and then you've got a number set up in your budget to fund the closure, right?
So make it work, you know,
Yeah, but I'm not sure the accumulated resources enough to accomplish the task.
Well, we're putting $3 a ton in, and that estimated cost right there is $8. That's not
What's
good.
the acreage on the expansion, Steve?
The total acreage is about 35. The issue, or an issue, is that rock.
I got a question on the rock. I know you can't blast. But they make a chemical now, they drill and it expands.
They do.
I'm sorry, I didn't mean to do that.
There goes that.
TDAC will not,
At this point, they will not allow that.
you know what I'm talking
I
about.
know, yeah, I used that the first time like in 1985.
I'm just trying to,
It works, it's fantastic material.
I just don't understand why you can, I know why you can't blast.
Yeah.
I understand that. But
They, to me, and this, but between us, I think the hammering is probably
It's just as
as
bad.
bad as that using the chemical.
All right, Steve, what's the projected useful life of the existing cell?
We're getting ready to survey that. I think you're at 2 years, 2.5 years maybe.
And the time to get the expansion designed, permitted?
I think we can do that by, I'm making some guesses as far as TDEC goes, but probably by late fall, probably late fall would be my guess. Because you have to figure on about 4 submittals with them on anything.
All right, and your numbers here show the entire area. Would that likely be developed into multiple cells?
That'd have to be, yeah.
So we could nibble at that number as opposed to the whole thing?
There's one, part of that site lays really good, and the rock lays at an elevation to where part of it is much better than it's about half and half. The half that's right behind the building over towards your existing landfill, it's a really good site, or part of the site. The rest of it back toward the back or toward, what would that be, that northwest? Northwest. But anyway, it doesn't lay at a very good height.
Well, we don't have enough information to make a decision today, but we also don't have a lot of time to mess around if we're going to try and get things
What
permitted.
would our tipping fees have to be to cover that?
I think that's one of the things we need to see next time is a business plan projection on capital costs and operating costs if and when we do the expansion.
Yeah, I can give you a much better breakdown. I've got all this in spreadsheets, it was just a whole lot to provide.
And we also get in a similar situation if we develop it in pieces, then it costs more, right? Sort of like a closure.
I don't think that the numbers that I've been using are from whatever closure you're doing now. And then, we just did a pretty good size, sale as far as the liner and all that stuff that goes in the bottom in Jefferson County. And, so I think, and it wasn't like a 35-acre site, so I think the numbers would be pretty good if you just split them out. And actually, the first phase of it is probably gonna be less expensive than the others behind it.
What did Jefferson County run a ton, an acre?
The only thing they did, Keith, was, they did all the liner work, and you've got to put sumps in for pumps and stuff like that, and their liner, they do all their excavation themselves. Let's see what their liner bid for. Their liner was about $1, it was right at $1 a square foot. And then you've got another layer on top of it is a geocomposite that was another $1. And I used $1.10 and $1.15 for both those, just assuming.
Times 43,560.
Yeah, per acre. No, yeah, per acre. And let's see. And with oil prices, as long as they stay reasonable, you'll be in better shape with those, because those prices have been coming down.
Be a good time to bid it right now with oil half what it was.
Yeah. And going down.
Yeah.
So if we get the cost projection put together, can we get that put together and maybe the phases that you would?
Yeah, that's what
recommend?
Keith and I were talking about before the meeting, is how we were talking about phasing. And I can, by next meeting, we'll have the phases laid out. And, also have a better handle on like your leachate pumping and stuff like that, but I'm pretty comfortable with where that's how you're gonna have to do that, because now, for the leachate, you don't pipe it out of the seal. You drain it to a sump on the end, and then you put a pump in to pump it out. They don't want any more penetrations through those liners, which is really, probably from an environmental standpoint, I think is much better. Because those liner penetrations, even though you wouldn't believe what all you gotta do to seal that, it's a hole in the liner and a seal, so it could, it could fail.
Okay, so it looks like we need several pieces of information next month. First, I wanna know how long we got. We don't do anything before we fill up.
We're actually, gonna fly that, I think, next week. Jim's, drone kind of flagged out on him, so we had to get a new one, and, he just failed. I think it came in yesterday, so we gotta get it programmed and all that, and he's gonna fly it here.
Yeah, okay,
It
so
won't take long after that.
project the useful life, phase plan for the expansion, and then projected operating costs. So we wanna know what our tipping fees are gonna be if we move into the expanded cell. So, is that gonna give us what we need? All right, guys, if you can get that to us by next month, then we can have a more honest discussion about where we're going and kind of a timeline.
Is there anything we need to look at as far as financing options, because this is more than what we have on hand?
Yeah, I think that's one of the things we're gonna have to explore, and that's gonna be interesting. I don't know if we have the ability or financial capacity to underwrite it on our own. We'll have to go back to the two governing bodies, so.
Operating costs need to reflect some sort of interest costs.
Yeah, I think.
Shouldn't be much right now.
expensive.
Interest is where they need to be.
Yeah.
We're gonna cut your stipend, so we will be able to finance it.
The bond market right now is fantastic.
Yeah. Yeah, right now is a good time to buy oil or borrow money, so. All right, well, we'll continue to work on that as we get that, we'll share with the board and try and get things moving. Any other thoughts or questions on expansion and operations? Dan, talk to us a little bit about operating hours and kind of what your thoughts are.
In the last month, I've received a few requests from customers to extend our hours by an hour a day. And then more recently, in discussions with Public Works, and even more recent this morning with Paul Brown, they're seeing an increase of about 8% with more people staying home. Initially, like I said, I was gonna ask from 7 to 4:30 based on TDEC's approval, but Paul's asked me to extend that to whatever we needed to accommodate Public Works and county collections.
Yeah, I asked Paul to join us. If you don't know, Paul Brown is our Public Works Director for the city. Paul, what are you seeing in terms of our residential collection, in terms of volumes and hours? What's it gonna take?
From last week to this week, we saw 8.7% increase in the volume of solid waste that we have. It could be just one of those things that happen. But the other theory is you've got more people staying home, companies aren't traveling, employees aren't traveling, employees are working from home. Restaurants are just drive-through only and things of that nature. So we're gonna prepare for theory number 2 to see if we're gonna continue to monitor that and see if we're gonna have an increase. It'd be interesting to see if the commercial side, restaurants not producing as much, but that's what we're seeing just from 1 week from last week to this week.
So if we went to, what do you think you're gonna need in terms of running your routes and being able to get through the gates?
We're gonna do a couple of things. Number one, our first order would be working a little bit of overtime. And then the other, we have reserve trucks that we utilize when we do makeup from holidays. So then we'd put additional trucks and employees on the road to try to keep regular hours, not going past 4:30 in the afternoon.
So, Dan, your proposal, what do you think we're gonna need to do to man the gates?
Well, to kind of utilize my manpower the best I think that we can utilize it would be to open up a half hour early. I have employees that come in at 6:30. We can already come in at 6:30, get prepared for the guys coming in to do maintenance, which would require one of the ladies coming in a half hour early in the morning and let her leave at a half hour earlier than she normally does. And the evening, the other lady that works the office can come in a half hour later in the morning and extend the extra time in the evening. As far as out in the field, we can kind of stagger that and keep the overtime to a minimum. I'm still, there'll be a little bit, but there'll be very minimal. I can share that over several people instead of having multiple people working there.
Are they gonna start earlier? Is that, you all gonna start earlier too? Is that?
If we have to, we will, but right now, our plans on would be to stay at 7:30.
And work later?
And work later.
So we need to work later.
Can you, well,
I mean, I mean, if that's what we're working to, let's accommodate them, which is what we need to do. If they're gonna go in earlier, we need to go in earlier. If they're gonna work later, we probably need to work later.
Yeah.
I would think, I don't know how it works, but that'd be my.
Well, you start the day with an empty truck, right?
Yeah, our first thing we're gonna do is monitor it.
Right.
To see if,
So another week, say another week. see if
another week
it's-
or two,
see
to
if
see
it
if
keeps
we're
that up.
actually, if we have a trend going up. Right now, I don't think we need to make any modifications unless we see that trend ramping up and we have to put additional resources out.
So we just need to lay in the weeds and wait till we hear something back from you guys, I guess.
Well, I think there's another thing we need to factor into our overall staffing plan, and that's one of the, you look around the room today, we've got a lot more elbow room than normal. We need to make sure we've got some separation between the operators, so we don't have guys working side by side and both of them go down at the same time with the virus. So staggering shifts has some value in that too, of being able to separate folks from working side by side. So if there's reason to do that operationally, if there's reasons for the carriers, I would recommend we just allow Dan to make some adjustments this month on hours. Because I think the situation's gonna change dynamically, day by day, week by week for the next month.
What about changing like break times? I mean, that would be my, operators, you know, most of the time they're in their self-contained unit.
I'm not so much worried about the operators, the
Office work, yeah. I agree.
They've got their social distance, they're not on the same.
Right,
distance.
right. But the only thing I'd worry about them is break time. They all go in the break room and sit in there and
And we've had that discussion. the
you
last
might
couple of
stagger their break times a little bit.
Don't share a donut.
Or the box for that.
But I think in this situation, we're gonna need some flexibility. I think we need to use some common sense, but I think preparing for what is a worthwhile thing. But I think you're right, probably evening hours are more important than early morning hours.
Why don't we just suggest that Dan adjust the hours to accommodate what's needed? You don't need us telling him all that.
No.
Our commercial haulers are there waiting for us to open the scales at 7:30. They're already there. That's why I suggested 7 o'clock. Now, we can adjust to whatever we need to at a later date. And I think, Paul, you're wanting to reserve the option, if it need be, that we go ahead and extend the hours. And of course, all this is dependent on TDEC's approval, which shouldn't be a problem. It's just an email and an answer, reply.
So a lot of your commercial guys are there waiting in the morning.
Yeah, our commercial guys are sitting there on scales 7:10, 7:15, ready to come across, so. Of course, daylight, it's gonna get, daylight earlier the next few months, and this request right now is only for daylight savings time, it's not the entire year. So as we get more in the spring and early summer, it's gonna get lighter sooner.
Do we need a motion? Just
Give us a motion, let's see what you got on your mind.
make a motion that we give Dan the reins to do what he needs to do as far as hours.
We got a motion, do we have a second to that?
I second.
All in favor, say aye. Dan, what are we seeing with regard to private citizens coming across the scales?
A lot more. seems like volume's picked up everywhere. One of the, and some of the operations, that we'll discuss in the next topic, are we on the next one that we're at?
Yeah, go ahead, yeah.
There's some concern with more so the ladies in the office, dealing with public one-on-one. They've made several suggestions, and they've actually taken some of the things, in their own hands and have made some adjustments. One of the things they would like to do is go completely cashless. In other words, have some form, we can set the chip reader, card reader, or a box to drop a check, or whatever outside. That way they're not interacting with the public. I've talked to the city about accepting, when residents come across the scales, we have been requiring a signature for all residents that we turn back in the city and county as proof that they've been there. Also, the drivers, instead of actually coming to the window, using cell phones, using hand gestures, at the end of the day, going to setting the entire scale tickets for the day to the city and the county as well. One of the other things we've been working on with our software guy and our scale person is an outside printer and also a digital pad. Some of your companies, your haulers are required to have a signature. So we could generate a ticket, put a box outside with a printer in it. It would generate an electronic signature when they sign the pad. That would give them one to keep us from actually interacting with the public.
You still gotta be concerned about patron to patron contamination. If you got an outside device, you're gonna have to clean that device on a regular
Public
basis.
pen.
That's right. The wet pen, that's right.
They've been wearing gloves, and well, see, Stephanie's wearing gloves now, they've been wearing mask gloves. They're trying to not interact with the public any more than they have to.
I was hoping that the regular public volume was dropping given the conditions, but that's not the case. It's not what you're
That's
saying.
not the case.
Maybe everybody get their closets cleaned out next
Yeah,
week or so.
people are bored, but,
Is it possible to look at a pass-through top window, that you don't open the window and you're face to face? I mean, that's the same thing. we do.
Like at the bank, you got those,
Like we use at the bank, there's a drawer that goes out. You don't actually, I mean, you're handling the papers, but.
there's not a window that you open, there's a glass, and it's kinda got a space on each side of it.
Yeah, and
Spit proof.
or a drawer that extends out and comes back in. I don't know what that would cost, but.
all right, cash is a concern. It's, if you get cash, you gotta handle it multiple times, you gotta count it, and make your deposit and so on, even after you take it. You don't know how many times it's been handled before that. If we go to just cards, how do we manage, how many times are we gonna have a customer that's not prepared to pay?
These are just some of the ideas that we came up with,
But I mean,
and we're trying to figure that out ourselves, so.
You take a lot of cash?
Cash and credit cards.
Is it just because that's what they've got, or that's all they've got?
Sometimes it's all they got is cash. Hundreds.
I've seen multiple places to go cashless. I think that's a fairly common thing, but we're gonna run into problems if we have someone that scales and no way to address it. I think the signature, I think we can wait for the time being. I don't think that's an internal control we can do without in this environment. What is your interaction with the customer if you're only paying by card, credit card, debit card, whatever it is?
Well, one of the first things they have to do is verify residency, and you'd be surprised how many people try to say they are a resident or in a trailer park or, and fight. So it ties up the window for quite some time. What else is it?
What are they showing ID? Is that basically?
Yeah.
And then when GIS the property, it shows up close to trailer park, apartment complex or business.
But you can do that
Through the window.
So you don't have to touch anything to do that.
No, they can.
Yeah, but in order to process their credit card, you have to touch the card, right? You have to pass the
No,
card.
they put the
They
card,
swipe
in.
it.
All we have to do is give them the receipt.
So we can put the actual card reader outside. And I think you all have been doing that during the day, correct?
Yeah, we just have to give them the receipt.
The receipt is the,
So all you gotta do is hand them a receipt?
and we're working on pricing right now, doing outside printer where we can print one that you take.
I think we need one of those little drawers like you're talking about.
Yeah, that would be,
Yeah, that would solve all that.
I've got our software guy here that's been working, this is Terry Sellers, he's been working with our scale company on possible solutions.
Yeah, basically, there's two options on an outside printer. And we're with Computer Concepts, Fairbanks Scale Company, this is an international company. They do your scale work. And they do outside printers, and there's basically two options that we've talked about. The most standard outside printer, it's a thermal printer, it's in a NEMA 4 enclosure, and the printer itself is pretty expensive, and the receipt is small. It runs through a little window that comes out much like a receipt printer. Now, the thing that's problematic for you guys about that is that when someone comes up to the window, generally the girls will ask their name if it's a consumer, and it hits the tax roll and it prints their name on the ticket. After it hits the tax roll, it brings their address and their name on the ticket automatically. And some of your customers, I think Hamlin County and maybe the city, they like that. So the thermal ticket is kind of small. The other option is having a NEMA 4 box out there with a regular printer in it that you can get at Office Depot or whatever, and you can replace it. But it's a little bit more complicated for the user to use. Instead of coming out in just a little sheet, where it's cut and it's there, they would basically open a door and get their ticket and then shut the door back. It's a NEMA 4 enclosure, and that's kind of your trade-offs. You have a very detailed ticket, and
So how much does this thing cost?
well, Fairbanks is working on the numbers for you right now, and when you called me yesterday, I contacted them, and they'll probably have something for you guys by, I would think, by the end of the day or Monday morning. And I will tell you this, outside ticket printers, and we've done a lot of stone quarries, a lot of coal mines, a lot of places that did use them, they can become complicated. And particularly the thermal printers, they run off of a roll. A lot of people just don't like them. That is true. So, it is an option. I think it could solve your problem for you. If, with the tickets you guys print, the other problem is a lot of your customers, I'm sure, take their tickets and they match them up against their statement. The little thermal paper probably would be a little bit more difficult for them to do, and they may not like it as well. So it may be better to think about a NEMA 4 box with a standard printer in it. If that printer tears up, like I say, you can go to Office Depot and put another one in. And again, we don't receive a benefit from it at all, our company. The benefit with working with your scale company on it, they're on your site quarterly to do calibrations and things like that, so they would be there. But, you have to weigh that out. The box that you guys were talking about, and I hadn't thought about that, but that may be a really good alternative, the box that you guys mentioned, because the stuff is passing one way. And quite honestly, and again, we don't really have a dog in the hunt, but quite honestly, it's easier to put a computer outside in an enclosed NEMA 4 box than it is the actual printer. And that's really the truth. And again, a long time ago, there was a movement for a lot more outside printers than there are today. But I think if you do go with an outside, the choice is gonna be the small receipt in a printer that's $3,000 or $4,000 in a box that's a few $1,000s versus maybe a little bit more expensive box and more of a normal printer. The printer the girls use inside right now, you could get a duplicate of it and put it out there. The advantage would be if it tears up, If that printer tears up, Dan can run to Office Depot and get another one, and it's just a standard printer that, you know, you guys would normally use. And, but they're working on those quotes, they should have them to you by Monday. I'll give you my honest opinion of it, of how it works, and again, it's no benefit to us either and or way, we just wanna serve you guys the best way we possibly can. So,
Can I ask a question, Tom? Terry, you mentioned on the one with the printer that you can go to Office Max, that the customer has to open a door.
yes, it is,
Okay, I think that goes back to your comment
Yeah.
that we're minimizing contact with our
Right.
employees and staff, but not with
you're
the
with the
customers.
public.
Customers are transmitting it between
I
themselves.
think
If
the
there's
little
an
door
issue.
thing's the best.
And we still have to have the signed ticket, so that's still got to pass factory.
Well, I can say FedEx, I mean, this is just an example, you know, they usually require that you sign their little, whatever, monitors that you acknowledge receipt. They have stopped that company-wide. They now, their carriers, when they come in and deliver a package, the signature is C-19. So that is their internal control, that they have delivered the package, they've done their job, but they're not giving a customer anything to put in their hand to sign. So for our, whether it's the ticket or the credit card receipt, that, I mean, we could use something similar
You
in
know,
that regard.
You know, and again, I don't have a dog in the hunt, guys, but I hadn't thought of the drawer, that does sound like a good idea to me. I will say this, if you consider doing the printer, the one with the normal printer on it, with the larger NEMA 4 box, I think the advantage to it is this. Your customers, you know, one of the improvements you make when you switch software is, like I say, if it's a city of Morristown County, they're getting who brought what off the tax roll. And I think they like that. I think that's a big improvement. I'm not saying we can't get it on that small ticket, but it's gonna be crowded. And the other thing is, some of your customers, your industrial customers, I'm sure, check their ticket against their statement at the end of the month. And I think they're gonna appreciate the existing ticket, you know. So if you did go outside, that may be, you may wanna look at that. If the drawer works, you know, that, I hadn't thought about that, but that sounds like a good idea, but, you know, you guys, whatever you all decide, we just wanna help you.
If you put a NEMA 4 box out there.
Yes, sir.
And they're opening it, are you not just basically doing away with the NEMA 4 protection?
Well, NEMA 4 boxes do have things that can be opened up, but the, you know, it's not,
Once you open that outside, and we use those a lot.
I bet you do.
Once you open that outside, that is the seal part. So
Right.
if you're opening that, say it's raining or heavy fog or whatever.
Right.
I think you're just doing away with that protection.
I think to some degree you're right. You know, I think to some degree you're right, but they can shut it back. And you know, your other option, if you go with an outside printer, we can go with that large thermal roll. You know, the printer itself will be several $1,000s, and if it goes down, it's not like you can just run out and get one, you know, and they're harder to configure. It's, you know, you'll need someone like Fairbanks to come in and configure it. If you go with the other one, you know, anybody can basically set it out there and get it configured. You know, it's just, you guys have options, and whatever you decide, we'll help you. We'll help you and work with you in any way that we can, okay?
So do we do away with signing step period?
Yeah, I think,
I think that's our, you just do away with signing anything, period.
let's go as low tech as we can, get through what we need to,
That's
short
it.
term. We'll deal with complications as they arise, but if you can work with, make sure we have appropriate internal controls to protect our people and our customers, use low-tech investments, let's not spend thousands of dollars on outside equipment if we don't have to, and let's see if we can work through that. Is that, I mean,
Good to me.
is that acceptable? Amy and Dan, you work together, make it work for next month, we're gonna do something else, we'll come back next month, or next board meeting.
So you just talked about, so the tickets that my drivers, when they come through, they're not gonna sign the landfill tickets, is that right?
I mean, the other option.
Is that a problem with you
No.
guys?
No.
I mean,
When they sign, you're handing them a pen to sign it.
Well, there's a pin that lays there.
Okay,
and we
so the
try to
other
keep it
option,
clean,
and we're
but-
doing this at our office, is we give each person a pen, say, it's yours. I don't want it back, don't leave it laying, take it with you. That minimizes
Yeah.
the interaction between various customers. So pens you can buy for 10+ cents a piece, that's a very, cheap way to not transfer germs.
Amy, I'll defer to your expertise with regard to what we need in terms of signatures to protect ourselves, but we need to protect our employees and not spread among the customers, but there's gotta be a low-tech, short-term solution we put in place. Is that a reasonable approach? All right, let's just, well, that's the thing. If the signatures confirm the residency, if you've seen it and you've assigned it to one of the two jurisdictions, that's fine for now. I think between the city and county, we can live with that level of precision for the time being. Anything else, y'all work it out. There's problems, if we need to address it, we will, but right now, I don't think we need to go out and make a $10,000 investment in something we don't know what it is. Does that sound reasonable? All right, anything else we need to chew on while we're together? Well, folks, we'll keep making it up as we go along, and we'll see you next month.
Do you want to make a contingency for next month in case?
I don't know in a month's time what things will be like, but we'll coordinate and see what the meeting requirements are. There's a fairly reasonable chance that we will not be meeting next month, but we'll let you know.